Steel Inquisitors are terrifying. I need everyone to know this. I am halfway through the Mistborn series. If any one of you gives me a spoiler for anything in that book, I am going to send a pack of my own Steel Inquisitors out to hunt you. That being said, hey, you should subscribe to the channel because if you like nerdy content like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and more, this is kind of the content that we produce. So I think you'd like the channel. So you should subscribe. But as I said before, this is my first impression of a Steel Inquisitor, so I don't really know much about them except that they are terrifying. I'm going to throw out a few predictions in here as well as my general impressions, aka fear, of them, without really knowing anything else about them or what happens to them in the future or really anything about their past. But I am truly terrified of them. Truly. So the first time we see a Steel Inquisitor in the Mistborn series is when Cameron and his crew leave the Canton of Finance when they're trying to dupe an Obligator. Out of nowhere, a Steel Inquisitor comes out to try to hunt Vin down, seeing that Obligators are trained to know when someone is using Allomancy against them. Also, another side note, I may be wrong on some of these facts, so correct me in the comments below without spoilers, please. So after that initial interaction, we kind of don't see them again until the end of part 2, which I just finished yesterday. And it is terrifying, truly. And now people on our Discord are sending me messages and images like this, and it will legitimately haunt my dreams for months. I want to talk about my first impressions of them, and then go into some theories I have of them, so you all can laugh at me when my theories are probably way off from the reality. I wasn't that scared of Steel Inquisitors when Cameron and Vin left the Canton of Finance, because Kelsier caught his attention and seemed like he wanted to play a fun game with him. This was the line in the book. Kelsier smiled. Then, burning zinc, he reached out and yanked firmly on the Inquisitor's emotions. The creature froze in place, then spun, looking back toward the Canton building. Let's have a chase now, you and I, Kelsier thought. Now this doesn't intimidate me. When this section happened in the books, I thought that the Mistborns were the most powerful beings in the realm. Didn't really know what a Mistborn was at the time, but I thought Kelsier was incredibly powerful, especially because of the prologue. But the end of part 2 has me rethinking everything. And I talked about this on the video where I do a deep dive into all of part 2. You can check that out in the video linked in the description if you want. But in the end of part 2, Vin and Kelsier decide to go to the Kredik Shaw. Kelsier, who was originally going to go by himself, brought Vin along with him because Vin was just following him and essentially would follow him regardless if he said she could or could not come. So Kelsier just took her with him. It was dangerous. He gave her warnings, but little did they know how dangerous it would be. They were going to the Kredik Shaw because, in my understanding, the Lord Ruler goes into this room once every 3 days for a few hours, like it's his routine. He has to go. And Kelsier thinks that this room has something to do with the 11th metal. He's not really sure what's in that room, but later in talking with Doxson, he tells him he cannot unleash the 11th metal and thinks that that room holds the key to do it. Not what this video is about, but I am dying to know what is in that room. The end of part 2 was devastating for me because I just wanted to know what was in that freaking room. Okay, that's another video. The whole beginning of the heist goes well though. They encounter some light resistance and pretty easily dispel all of it. That is, until they find themselves in a room. And rather than me just describe what happens, I want to read it, because it is chilling, and it's such good writing. Kelsier strode forward, and Vin turned. The center of the room was dominated by a small structure, a building within the building. Ornate with carved stone and flowing patterns, the single-story building stood reverently before them. All in all, the quiet, empty chamber gave Vin a strange feeling of solemnity. Kelsier walked forward, bare feet falling on smooth black marble. Vin followed in a nervous crouch. The room seemed empty, but there had to be other guards. Kelsier walked up to a large oaken door set in the inner building, its surface carved with letterings Vin didn't recognize. He reached out and pulled open the door. A Steel Inquisitor stood inside. The creature smiled, lips curling in an eerie expression beneath the 2 massive spikes that had been pounded point first through its eyes. Kelsier paused for a mere moment. Then he yelled, "Vin! Run!" The Inquisitor's hand snapped forward, grabbing him by the throat. Vin froze. To the sides, she saw two other black-robed Inquisitors stride through open archways. Tall, lean, and bald. They were also marked by their spikes and intricate ministry eye tattoos. The closest Inquisitor lifted Kelsier into the air by his neck. "Kelsier, the survivor of Hathsin," the creature said in a grinding voice. Then he turned toward Vin. "And you. I've been looking for you. I'll let this one die quickly if you tell me which nobleman spawned you, half-breed." Whew. That gave me the chills just reading it there. What happens after this is that Kelsier seems to attempt to sacrifice his life to get Vin out. But two of the three Steel Inquisitors go after Vin, which is insane. You'd think they want to get Kelsier, but why did they go after Vin? I think she must have some kind of power or lineage that the Steel Inquisitors know about and need to eradicate. But I cannot tell you how shivery the shiver was down my spine when I read this. And again, I was talking about this in my longer deep dive of this chapter, but I used to think that the food chain was relatively simple in this realm. It was the Lord Ruler on top, then Mistborns, then Steel Inquisitors, then Mistings, and Obligators, and Haze Killers, and everyone else below them. I don't really think that's the case anymore. I think Steel Inquisitors have allomantic powers that haven't really been tapped into yet by Mistborns. Something about the spikes through their head makes me think that it has to do with that. Maybe the metal helps them see like a bat or something, because Vin turns off her allomantic powers when she's running away, and it's rainy and it's dark, and surely she's safe when she does that. But no. The Steel Inquisitor finds her anyway, which shocks Vin. And then, my favorite character in the whole series so far decides to pop in and seems to dominate the Steel Inquisitors. The one, the only, the Terrisman that has stolen my heart, Sazid. Or as everyone else apparently tells me, it's Sazid, but I like Sazid, so I'm going to keep saying that. But again, the food chain is disrupted for me. I think, in my opinion, again, I don't know the rest of the story, but my theory is that Terrismen have this weird ability to essentially have all the forms of martial arts downloaded into their brain. And I think there are other religions out there that have been eradicated that have greater power than what the Mistborns are even capable of. I know that Terrismen are eunuchs now because I snuck a peek at the next chapter in part 3, but I have a weird suspicion that Vin might be the progeny of some Terrismen. She seems to be someone that the Steel Inquisitors want, even more than Kelsier, which is insane because he is the survivor of Hathsin. So there's something about Vin that I am missing that I just don't know. And I have tons of theories on that I've kind of talked about in my other videos, but it's so confusing to me in so many good ways. Also, I want to know how the Steel Inquisitors knew that they were going to be there. Was it random chance? Is there something in Adium that the Lord Ruler uses that lets them see even further into the future? My questions are as numerous as the ash in Luthadel. And this video is just me wanting to rant about Steel Inquisitors for a few minutes because they are absolutely terrifying to me now. They don't seem like they're on the top of the food chain because I kind of think Terrismen are now, but for sure seem like they're above Mistborns. They seem like they have other powers that the Mistborns don't have, and maybe that has to do with some of the hidden and dead religions of this realm. But I have to say, this book is captivating. If you want any of my other thoughts on it, be sure to check out the full chapter deep dives on the channel. And let me know what other parts of the book you want me to talk about and go into shorter videos with. I'm probably going to do a few more of these as I'm reading through the series, and I think the next one I want to make is about Terrismen because they are so fascinating, and I love Sazid so much. But yeah, I am terrified of these creatures, and I have so many questions and so many theories about who they are, where they came from, and what powers they have. But be sure you subscribe if you like nerdy content, and I'll see you in the next one.